pilot who wasn't able to make it today. He
Okay.
wanted to know, with it being his last MEAC tournament, what's kind of Christian Ng's impact been to this team over his 4 years?
So one more time, with what?
But this being Christian Ng's last MEAC tournament,
Yeah.
can you just talk about what his impact has been at Norfolk State University?
That's been a tremendous impact. You know, he's able to come in, you know, win a couple championships and play well. You know, he has best individual stats here, and just his overall, he's been a starter from day one. So he's played a lot of games actually in the Norfolk State uniform. So you know, he's done a lot of winning. I think he only lost one. One home game in his time that he actually played. You know, and because we looked at it the other day. So that's a tremendous record for him to have, and you know, so his impact has been tremendous. Impact to the community has been great, and of course this year now with the dunks that people are finally seeing that he's been doing actually for 4 years, his impact nationally, you know, which has helped the Norfolk State brand grow. So he's definitely been very impactful for the program.
Coach, what was that conversation like with Christian when he was on Sports Center and got interviewed and then was, you know, 2 of the top 10 plays?
Don't get too big-headed. Honestly, you know, like it was like we know what he can do. You know, he's been dunking on people for 4 years, honestly. But once he made Sports Center, it was just like, you know, he got a lot of attention from other folks and just people that maybe hasn't been around the program that much. And we just told him that, you know, stay level-headed, man. You know, stay level-headed. You gotta stay hungry. You can't, you know, if you're already full, you can't be hungry. So you know, you gotta stay hungry.
Given that he's gone through a major knee injury at one point in his
Yeah.
career, is it still, are there things that he does, it's like, man, I can't believe he's still doing this, given what he's had to go through?
Having that extra year this year was tremendous for him because, you know, last year he was just coming back off the injury. And they always kind of say that injury, you could come back, but it takes you like another year to really get back to 100%. So, and you can see the difference. I mean, you can see last year he played okay, and he didn't really start playing well to the CIT. Honestly, he played well in the CIT, MVP, and things like that, and then it kind of carried over to this year. He had a really good start to the season. Then went through like a little, you know, leveling out, but then he started to pick it back up. And but the athleticism is back 100%. You know, you can tell 100%.
Both Philly and Brian have made distinctions between pressure and purpose this week. They use the phrase pressure is in the preparation, but the purpose is in the tournament here. How have you guys made that distinction known to them to not feel the pressure once they get on the court at the Scope? I
mean, we've been talking about it. You know, last night we had a great team bonding session, great meal at my house, and we just kind of just not really air things out, but just kind of just put some positivity on the season, because a lot of times when you're out there in practice, there's a lot of negative things that happen. You know, there's a lot of testosterone going and stuff. So last night we had kind of really like a great positivity session. All of us in one room just talking about it, and we've been talking about it all week. That the pressure is today at 12:45 when we practice, right? It's not tomorrow at 6, because tomorrow at 6 is just doing everything you've done, you know, all year, just at a higher level maybe. So we're trying to put the pressure on to prepare. Are we preparing the right way? Because if we prepare the right way, I think we'll be more than fine. And for real, for us, you know, we've won 21 games already this year. You know, 3 more is the hardest 3, but at the same time, we've already done 21. Like I think we can win 3 more if we really lock in.
Do you also feel like the last 3 games of the season really kind of help your team mentally show who they are as people going into a tournament like this?
Yeah, I think that even though I don't like the total results of the last 3 games, I do think that it was hostile environments. You know, like we went into 3 of the most hostile environments there was. I mean, South Carolina State had the biggest crowd they had all year, and then, you know, Central's always hostile, you know, and then Howard is hostile. So playing in those hostile environments, it's like when you go to the Scope, there's more pressure in the Scope, but the Scope is really not a hostile environment because there's so many neutral parties in the Scope, right? You know, it's just the pressure that you want to cut down the nets, but it's not really a hostile environment. So I think playing in those environments will probably, you know, help us ease the jitters a little bit when we're playing in the Scope.
Do you almost feel like, too, the last couple of years you've gotten to the finals or not and miss, that this team is a little different, that it's seen disappointment and they know what it takes now to bring home?
Yeah, you know, last year, Brian, was the first year since 2019. We were in the final game. You know, so that was like I didn't know what to do on a Saturday. You know, honestly, I had no idea what people do on MEAC Saturdays besides play in a championship game. And so hopefully we can get back to MEAC Saturday this year. And I think the guys that the core that was here last year, they want to get back to MEAC Saturday, or I guess even for them really reach MEAC Saturday because the guys that's left, except for Philly and Terrence, those guys they won a championship before, so they understand what it is to get to MEAC Saturday. But I think everybody else is pretty focused. I think guys like Brian, Sincere, Jalen, guys who've never been to the NCAA tournament, they know that this is probably like their best chance they've ever had in their career. So I think they want to take full advantage of it.
A couple weeks ago, you talked about this team being able to step on another team's throat and really put a stamp on the end of a game. Do you feel like through practice this team has gotten better at that?
I think that we're getting better at that. Hopefully tomorrow, it comes all to fruition. I think that for us is that usually we have pretty good starts. And then we'll go through lulls a little bit, then we'll pick it back up, things like that. So sometimes the games are closer than what they need to be, to be honest with you. So hopefully we'll have a killer instinct this week to kind of, do what we got to do, get it over with, and we can move on to the next game. And we understand that it's going to be hard 3 games. I mean, this league, it seemed like once it got to 8 teams, for some reason it got tougher. Anybody could beat you. Look, even us, this year we've lost to Morgan, which is the 5th seed. We lost to Central, which I think is the 6th seed, and then of course we lost to South Carolina State, which is the 2nd seed. So, but losing to the 5th and 6th seed, you really lose it to the second half of the conference. So I think that even though we didn't want those losses, I think that helps because we realize that we can't lose.
You also have talked before about how you guys get everybody's best shot in the MEAC.
Sure.
Does that hold any more weight in the MEAC tournament than it does in the regular season?
No, I think you'll get. It's not even about us in the MEAC tournament. I think that everybody's trying to, cut down the nets. So it's not really like, okay, we're going to try to beat Norfolk State. I think people want to beat, at least I would think, people want to beat whoever's presented in front of them. Of course, a team like Eastern Shore that we play tomorrow, who's had a pretty rough season. I think they're 6-24 or something like that. To be 7-24, with a win over Norfolk State would make their whole season. Even though 7-24 is a pretty bad record, but it would make their whole season. So we do have to understand that dynamic, of it. So we have to be ready to play, and we got to try to avoid upset.
I know you've been asked a lot about Brian this year, but he's likely going to be Conference Player of the Year tonight.
Mm-hmm.
To have a guy come here knowing this is his only year to make something here at Norfolk State, can you just talk about how much he's adapted to this place and how much he's changed or maybe changed the program in some capacity?
I mean, all analytics say that he should be Player of the Year, but analytics don't vote; the coaches vote. So we'll see we'll see what happens. It'll be a travesty if he isn't a Player of the Year, honestly, because he's the number 1 player on the number 1 team that won 21 games. I mean, you can't make it any clear cut than that. So it'll be a travesty that if he isn't Player of the Year, but he's made the most of his opportunity. He's definitely been a kid that was kind of unleashed coming here, and I think that he really likes it here. He really likes the coaching staff. Because now, it's no secret what's going on. I already saw some people that were like tampering, because he has another year left, so because of the JUCO rule, we got another year back and stuff like that. So there's already some tampering going on, and it's going to be tough to try to keep him. But we're going to do everything within our resources to try to keep him in a green and gold uniform.
The past 2 seasons, you've had guys that have been on those prove-it type of years that have won Conference Player of the Year. If Brian wins tonight, is that more of a testament to the program, or the guys coming in that really want to prove it?
I think it's a testament to all of it. It's a testament to the coaches that recruit these guys. Because I'll be the first one to tell you, I never take credit that I don't deserve. And Coach Brown recruited both Brian and Jamari. Coach Clemens recruited Joe. So if Brian can't keep up that tradition of 4 in a row, it's credit to those guys for spotting what I like. Like they know exactly what I like, and then it's also with those players coming in, buying into what I had to say, and make the most of the opportunity. So I think it's a collective effort in that regard.
I just for my own curiosity, dating back to even Kyle Quinn, right? How are you able to, you and the recruiting staff, able to find these diamonds in the rough that come in that, and seriously though, because there are guys that are unrecruited almost completely, or JUCO guys that you find that come into this program and are very productive. Like, what is the mission of the scouting team?
Now I will take credit for Kyle O'Quinn. That was my first. That was my first recruit. That was my first recruit here was Kyle O'Quinn. So I guess I struck gold early. But I think for me, even with Kyle was under recruited. Kyle had no scholarship, but his coach gave me a film. His high school coach, rest in peace to Coach Granby, was that I saw a kid that was 6'8" at the time. He grew when he got here. A lot of people don't know that. He grew 2 inches when he got here in college. But he was 6'8". He was shooting a 15-footer. He was very mobile. He was at the top of a press and things like that. So I'm just like, why isn't anybody recruiting this kid? And the thing I say too is that some college recruiters get they get a little what's a good word? I try to think of a political word. They say they have an eye for talent, but they really don't. Honestly, like they just have an eye for what's on the rankings, like a piece of paper that you get. Oh, Brian is number 15 in the country. I want to go after him. But that kid number 50 on the country, or the kid that's not on that paper, might be the best fit for you. And I think that between myself and of course my coaching staff, we have figured that out, that we gotta go after what's the best fit for us, and not necessarily what the people say that we should get.
Going back to Brian getting another year, do you talk to him a little bit about, like, hey, Joe Bryant stuck around here, and look at what he did for himself and his name here. Do you talk to him about an example like that?
Yeah, but I've been recruiting Brian since December. And it might sound crazy because he plays for me, but I've been recruiting him since like December, because December is when I saw the tampering happening. So it's like I've been recruiting him since December. So I think that he understands that he has a good place here at Norfolk State. I think that he understands he understands me, he understands the rest of the coaches, he understands the whole inner workings of Norfolk State, and I think that it is something attractive to him. But at the same time, I can't tell a kid, because I probably wouldn't tell my own son if somebody came with $1 million to stay at Norfolk State. I'd be honest with you, and that's my flesh and blood. My son. So I would tell him the same thing. That, you got to go do what you got to do, but at the same time, be careful, because that might be the last $1 million you get. You might have to take less to get more in the future. So that's my message to Brian. Like I said, I would tell my own son.
I'm sure Brian's not the first guy that this has happened to with you as the head coach. How do you keep guys like that present, that are actively playing for you and you want them to stay productive, but other schools are really trying to get at them?
It's the hardest thing ever, because, just like with Brian and anybody else, I'm sure Jamari kind of already had that stuff set up before he left, was that there's so many outside forces that are in your ear constantly. I'm sure there's forces that tell you, like, when you have a bad game, hey, you got to pick it up, because if you don't pick it up, you can't go get this $1 million, stuff like that. So it's like there's outside pressures and there's inner pressures, because we're telling him that you got to play well for us to win, right? But there's outside pressure because everybody has a hand. Everybody's trying to get a handout. There's all these made up NIL agents. You don't need any kind of certification for that or anything like that. They're trying to say, hey, if you average X amount of points, if you're able to get Player of the Year, you're going to be able to go get this money from the SEC or get this money from the Big East and stuff like that. So everybody has an, because the agent, they get 20% of the NIL stuff. So of course I'm going to try to send them to the highest bidder so I can get my 20% to be higher, right? But at the same time, like I said, you got to be careful where you go, because, like a Joe Bryant or like a Chris Bankston. I use Chris Bankston. Chris Bankston's making a lot of money overseas. He's making good six figures. I'm not talking about like just 100,000. I'm talking about he's making some real money over there, and they just ripped up his contract and give him a whole new contract, right? So he stayed those 2 years. He wasn't Player of the Year, but he got to the summer league with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then he got to a high level overseas. So he could have easily took $100,000, because the money was a little different back then. He could have easily took $100,000 and left. But now him not taking, he got zero. Honestly, here for real, he got zero. But he's able to go make $500,000 maybe for the rest of his life. You got to weigh those things out too. Do you want the instant gratification, or do you want the long-term gratification?
Is that maybe the most frustrating part of being a mid-major coach, is that the ultimate success can sometimes lead to, you're going to have to reprove it every year by rebuilding a team?
Yeah, hell yeah. This is now a glorified JUCO. This is like Norfolk State Community College, because it's like when I say that, not because of the people or things like that, but it's just the way it is. JUCO coaches, I have so much more respect for them these days, because they have to get a new team every year or every 2 years or something like that, right? Now we got to get a new team every year, every two. So we basically a glorified JUCO, because these kids, until mid-majors, and not just Norfolk State, until mid-majors get the money that high majors have, we're never going to be able to keep kids here, for a long time. I say it's easy to get them, it's hard to retain them. You can get them because there's a lot of kids that want opportunities. A lot of kids want opportunities, but once they get the opportunity and then they blow up, it's harder to retain them because now the big boys are going to come.
What would a MEAC tournament title mean to this particular group of guys from your perspective?
It'll mean everything, I think, to them. I think, and I'll throw in guys, I throw in coaches too. I think that all of us are a little hungry, man. All of us, feel slighted at times. Players, coaches, everything. And the thing for me, just from a personal sense, is that since I've been in this league, I've seen teams have a run, but then they never got it back. And when I say that, you see when I first got here, Morgan ran the league, right? They never won again. Then Central ran the league for a little bit. They never won again. And now Howard has won the last two. And so we won 2 in a row. So for us to hopefully get it back, it would mean everything because we would be the first team to kind of get back, something going. So I keep that in the back of my mind too.
That's all.
Thanks,
All right,
Thanks.
appreciate it.